guys, it's Millions and Millie Books here with another book chat. I'm going to talk about Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. The beginning of this chat is going to be non-spoiler, and then I will get into some spoilerish topics later on in the video. So I absolutely loved Red Queen. I gave it either a 4.5 or 5 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Red Queen is a young adult fantasy novel that takes place in a world where there are red and silver-blooded people. The silver-blooded people have powers or abilities, and the red-blooded people are normal people like we are. Our main character is red blood. Her name is Mare Barrow. In this society, if you are red blood, you have to go off to war when you turn 18 if you don't have a job. Our main character, Mare, is about to turn 18, and it looks like that she may have to go off. The red bloods are fighting a war against another kingdom for the silver bloods to provide for her family while her older brothers are at war. Mare pickpockets people. Say that 5 times fast. Pickpockets people, pickpocketing, not gonna happen. One night, when Mare is in a pub pickpocketing people, she runs into this guy who says that he can get her a job at the castle as a servant. So Mare goes with him, and this is where she finds out that she has powers, even though she is a red blood. The twist is it happens publicly. So it's kind of her and the royal family and all of the characters dealing with not only Mare having powers, but this thing and that the Silvers may have to cover up. I don't know if that was a good synopsis, but I didn't want to read from the back. As I said, I really enjoyed this book. I would definitely suggest it to anybody who enjoys YA fantasy. I would also recommend it to anybody who enjoyed the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. They're not really alike in any ways, but I thoroughly enjoyed both of them. Some of the aspects that I really enjoyed in Throne of Glass I kind of saw in this book. If you want to know a little bit more about this book, not coming from me, I actually went to a signing for Victoria Aveyard and a few other authors, so I will link that into the description so you can hear actually Victoria talk about the book a little bit. It's not spoilery, so if you haven't read it, you can still watch it. And by the way, Victoria was really awesome. I'm so happy that I completed her book before I met her and that I got to talk to her. This part is still going to be non-spoiler. First, I'm going to talk about the characters. Our main character's name is Mare Barrow. I really liked Mare. I thought she was a great female protagonist. Probably my favorite thing about Mare is that she was very realistic. I think that we often define female protagonists that make mistakes as stupid, or just any protagonist that makes a mistake as stupid. But yes, she was strong, and yes, she was fun to read about, but she did indeed sometimes make decisions that weren't necessarily the correct ones. But you always had this understanding being in her head of, I could think about her being in her situation, being like, yeah, I could see why you would do that even though it wasn't the right thing to do. I just thought that she was a very realistic character and she felt like a real person. My biggest issue with Mare Barrow is that whenever I read her name, it looks like bone marrow. And I'm sorry if you didn't see that before and now you do. But yeah. Next I'm going to talk about the 2 princes of this land. They are both silvers. I thought both characters definitely created interesting dynamics for not only Mare as a character, but for the entire story arc. Both of the guys had so much depth to them, so I really enjoyed reading about them. And honestly, I cannot wait to see where both of their character arcs go in future books. As for the other side characters, I also really enjoyed seeing their interactions with Mare. There were other cool servants and other people who were fun. As for the action and the plot, I didn't think there really was ever a dull moment. I personally really enjoyed all of the scenes. Jenna Claire K, you just texted me, so if you're watching this now. I thought every scene was not only enjoyable, but very interesting and relevant. There wasn't any time in the book by the time I finished it where I was like, that was 20 pages that we didn't need. I thought everything definitely wrapped up and was important in the end. The book is almost 400 pages long, even though Goodreads says it's 320. It's around 380. And it did not feel that long. I read it in a couple days and it was during a busy week. I flew through it, loved it. Plus, the people with powers are really awesome. I think just this magic system / abilities going on here was really cool to read about. As for the world building of this book, I would have loved to see a little bit more. I thought this society was set up extremely well, but I wish that we would have just gotten a little bit more, but I have faith that in the books to come that this is going to improve. I really wish that there were a map in this book. However, somebody asked Victoria Aveyard about this at the signing, and she says that a map could have been spoilery, so there is going to be a map in book 2 for anybody who's read this and is curious about that. What was so interesting about this society is that the political divide was very prominent. I actually really felt bad for all of these people, so this was a good thing on Victoria Aveyard's part because the society was set up in a way that I just felt really bad for these people. And there's a lot of things that suck in dystopians and fantasies. I felt bad for the Reds because we're the Reds. The main theme of this novel really touched on loyalty. The plot really focused on the different characters' internal struggles with loyalty, and I really liked how the plot played out in a way that it showed how this internal loyalty struggle created faults within the good and the bad characters. Should you be loyal to your family? Should you be loyal to yourself? Should you be loyal to your blood? And also, you can't really trust anybody. So to end this little non-spoilery section, I love this book. I want more. That is my biggest thing that I think at the conclusion of this book is I want more. This was definitely a solid first installment in the series, and I cannot wait for the books to come. The bad thing about this novel is that it did indeed just come out early February 2015, so if anybody is reading it around this period of time, book 2 just went into copy edits, so it's going to be a while until you find out what happens. Another thing that I asked Victoria Aveyard about at the signing is I asked her how long this series is going to be, and she said that she did not quite have an answer yet. I think it's going to be 3 or above, but she doesn't want to cram it into a trilogy, or she doesn't want to stretch it out and make it 4 or 5 books if she finishes, which is something I like. I think that will improve the story to make it the length that the story is intended to be, not just a set number of books. Overall, this was really a great novel, and I cannot wait to see where the story goes because I'm absolutely hooked. Alright, so now if you have not read Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, I highly suggest picking it up. If you like young adult fantasy, go do it because it was great. So if you haven't read it, bye! I'm going to talk about a few spoilery things. Ooh. You guys better have all read it now. I mean, come on guys, you don't want to be spoiled. It was amazing, plus cover porn. Okay, you sure you've all read it? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the thing that probably everybody wants to hear about first. Maven. Did you guys think that it was easy to guess? Make sure you mark spoilers in the comments, but I want to know what other people thought about that. As for me, yes and no for if I guessed it. The more that people read this book and mention that there's a big twist at the end, I think then it's going to be easier for the future readers of this book to guess, because even though it is a twist, the more people mention a twist, I think it wouldn't be that hard to guess. So, the king's death though, that was definitely a twist. I did not see that coming. I knew that the queen was evil, but I didn't see that coming. That was the bigger twist for me personally, that's just the direction that the story decided to go. I have a confession to make. When I first met Maven, I'm like, oh, it's another prince, but we already have Killorn and Cal. Are we going to have a love square? No, so that means Maven must be evil or gay. And I thought he was gay for the first part, and then the more as it went on, I just started to guess that he was evil. I was definitely still blindsided because I thought that Maven was going to be a character kind of like Draco Malfoy, where he isn't necessarily good and he's kind of a snitch, but he isn't necessarily the main antagonist of the series. He's just kind of on the wrong side. Kind of a sketchy character, but not an evil character. As for Kel, I knew he was the prince the second he was introduced, just called it, but it was still great. It made me really happy when it turned out to be him, so I guess I can't complain too much about predicting that. As for when we thought there was going to be a love triangle between Mare, Cal, and Maven, when Maven was good, I really liked how sweet he was, but that was one of the things that made me maybe think that he was evil, just because he was almost too sweet in a way. So I'm just like, bruh, you sure? But then as for Cal, no, he isn't a perfect character, but I thought him and Mare had a lot of chemistry, which is something that I really enjoyed in the small pieces of romance that we got in this novel. I'm looking at my notes and all I have down is dance scene. Yes! Which is also accurate. I thought the fact that Cal was very conflicted on who he should be loyal to and his beliefs made him realistic. I usually don't like indecisive characters, but I thought that it just really made him human and made him a person. And he isn't perfect, but I think he definitely has the room to have an amazing character arc in the later books. Now, does this mean we're going to have a love triangle because Killorn is back in the picture kind of at the end there? Because, please no. I mean, I trust Victoria to do it well. This is the route that she kind of decides to go. But we all know that Killorn is the cliched childhood friend that's inevitably going to be friend-zoned. Sorry, Killorn. I didn't dislike you, and I definitely felt bad for you in the first couple chapters, but we all know it's going to be Cal at the end. They need a ship name. Mare and Cal. Care? Or Mal? I ship it. And one of the reasons that you know she's going to end up with Cal eventually is she has to marry Cal to fix the society. They're supposed to get married and rule together because that is what happens in books like this. Not that I'm complaining, because I 100% support it and I'm excited to see where this relationship goes. But we all know where it is going to go endgame. The biggest question that kind of came about in my mind about this whole situation, blood, society, whatever thing, is what would happen if there was a baby who was half silver, half red, or a human who was half silver, half red, I should say. Not that I'm necessarily guessing that Mare is half silver, because obviously she isn't, and maybe she has a silver ancestor, I guess. Sorry, my camera shut off, so if I'm at a different angle. As I was saying, I'm just curious to see like how that would work out. Like, what would those people be like? Would they have pink blood? Not really, but... And also, if the society completely intermingled and there were red silver babies all the time, does that mean that eventually everybody in the society would have powers, even if they were red-blooded? What would Cal and Mare's kids be like? Because, again, we all know. Then as for just final comments that I have about the book, and stuff that I can't wait to see in the next book, is I'm curious to see how some Reds have powers. And I'm also curious to meet more people who are like Mare and her brother. Is book 2 going to be about finding more of those people? Is it going to be like a race with Maven to see who can get more people first? Is there going to be an explanation of why red people have powers? My theory, other than the silver ancestor thing, is possibly what if there was some form of malfunction from working in those radioactive plant things that they passed by on the ship or drove by or whatever it was. Could it possibly have come from those? Are there Reds with family or ancestors who worked in those who had disfigurations? And then the final little twist at the end that her brother was alive was really cute, and I think that that character is going to have a bigger role in the following books, because it's kind of great that Mare has a family, obviously, but she had to leave them, and she doesn't necessarily trust Cal yet, again. So I think she's going to definitely have, obviously, Killorn as well, but her brother. Farley's his name. So yeah, I definitely think Farley is going to be a bigger part in the following books. So overall, again, I absolutely love this novel. Definitely a solid installment in a series. A really great debut novel for Victoria Aveyard. And again, if you want to hear her talk about her book a little bit more, as well as 2 other Epic Reads authors, I will link the Q&A from the signing that I went to down below. Thank you for watching. This is Millions and Millie Books. This is a book chat of Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I loved it. 4.5/5 stars, probably 5 stars just because it wasn't perfect, but I absolutely adored every single minute of reading it. And if you pick it up or have read this, please comment down below. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!